Okay, so this video here is going to talk about how to find the z-score for a distribution. And we talked earlier about normal distributions. So z-scores go along with normal distributions. And we won't use it today, but or we might, that we use z-scores actually to help us with normal distributions, because with our normal distribution that we've looked at, that if we're talking about this normal curve here, that we've got one standard deviation above, two above, three above, those actually represent what we call z-scores. So this would be z would be +1, +2, +3, and z would be a -1, -2, -3. So when we're using z-scores, we're actually talking about the bell curve for a normal distribution. And we're just trying to find out how many standard deviations the value lies away from the mean. So here's a formula for finding z-score. Z is equal to x minus the mean, so our data value, minus the mean of the data set, okay, the population mean, and divided by the standard deviation, because we're trying to find out how many standard deviations away from the mean it is. So we find out how far that specific data value is from the mean, divided by the standard deviation to find our z-score. So here, we're using the same numbers we used actually yesterday, or in the normal distribution. So we have a mean of 81 and a standard deviation of 5. So we're going to find these z-scores. And this is actually a beginning to help you with statistics, a lot of what we do in AP statistics. So to find z, we will do 65 as our data value, minus the mean, which is 81, and divide that by the standard deviation of 5. So we get 65 minus 81 is -16. Divided by 5 is -3.2. All right, if it's below the mean, it's going to be a negative number. If it's above the mean, then it's going to be a positive number. All right, so let's do 83 also. So 83. So we got z equals, we always say z equals 83. It's our data value, minus the mean of 81, divided by a standard deviation of 5. So that gives us 83 minus 81 is 2/5. So that z value is 0.4. Okay, and one more, 100. So z equals 100 minus 81 divided by 5. So we get 19/5, which is equal to 3.8. So that tells us that 65 is 3.2 standard deviations below the mean. That's really small. So that probability, if we looked at our normal curve, our probability would be really small there. At 83 at 0.4, it's going to be pretty close to 50% of the numbers would be below that number. And at 3.8, almost a whole 100% of the data is actually going to be less than that. So if somebody got 100 in that midterm, they probably did better than almost everybody, if not everybody. All right, for example 2, in this case, they want you to actually find the mean first of all and the standard deviation. So you could use Desmos to find the mean and standard deviation, or your calculator, either one. And we are talking about the population standard deviation. So remember, we're using sigma for that. And so I went ahead and calculated them already. And I found that the mean is equal to 71.625. And the standard deviation is 3.1. So once we find the mean standard deviation, we're just using that formula again. So we're just going to do one of these. So z equals, so 66 minus 71.625 divided by 3.1. So we get a z-score. When we do that, simple arithmetic, we get -1.81. So finding the z-score is really pretty easy. Once you know the mean, standard deviation, just need that data value, and you just plug them into the formula. All right, and we'll look at one other type of problem that we did that you'll be doing. And so we're looking at this example 4. It says the z-scores for 4 students on a particular algebra test are given below. If the mean of the test was 85 and its standard deviation was 4, find each student's grade. So we're going to be using, so we have to use the z-score formula, but in this case, they don't tell us the student's value. They give us the other 3 points, and we've got to find that information. All right, so we'll start with Zach. So his z-score is negative 0.75, and that equals x, which is we don't know. We know the mean is 85, and the standard deviation is 4, so we're just going to solve this equation. So this is a type of equation you've done many times before. So we'll multiply both sides by 4. So 4 times 0.75 is negative 3, equals x minus 85, and then we'll add 85 to each side. So we get that Zach had a score of 82 on this particular algebra test. All right, we'll do one more. We'll do Natalie. Natalie had a z-score of 1.25. And so we're trying to find her x value. We know the mean is 85 again. Standard deviation is 4. So we multiply 1.25 times 4 to start. So we get 5 equals x minus 85. Then we add 85 to both sides. And we find out that Natalie scored a 90 then on her test. So finding z-scores, using normal distributions also, that we know that if it's positive number, then it's going to be above the mean. So it's going to be positive z-score. Negative number, z-score is negative, then it's their number that they got was less than the mean. And so that's how to find the z-score.